When I met my wife's parents for the very first time, the night unfolded in a way I'll never forget. Her mother didn't even wait for a conversation to begin. She lifted her glass of red wine, turned toward me, and flung it straight into my face. The sting of alcohol burned my eyes, the sourness clinging to my skin. Her voice cut through the shocked silence. "That's to disinfect a poor man. My daughter's monthly expenses are $140,000. My wife didn't look horrified, didn't even try to defend me. She laughed, openly, without hesitation, as if her mother's cruelty was a shared joke. I wiped the dripping wine from my face slowly, letting the weight of the moment hang in the air. My lips curved into a smile, sharp and deliberate, as I answered in a voice calm enough to cut steel. "Then tonight, I'll be canceling all business with your company." They didn't know the history behind that smile, or the years I had carried my wife through when she had nothing. I remembered when I first met her, just a girl working long hours in a cramped office, drowning under student debt, clutching at dreams she could barely afford. I had seen something raw and bright in her, something worth building upon. I had lifted her from those days when her debit card was declined at grocery stores, when she wept from shame, and I reassured her with promises. I thought I was investing in more than love. I believed I was securing loyalty, gratitude, true partnership. But I had underestimated the venom of power, and the way money corrodes faster than any poison. That night with the wine wasn't the first red flag. It was only the boldest. By then I had already noticed the late-night whispers over the phone, the sudden walls she built around her conversations, the sneer that began to lace her tone whenever she mentioned me. And then came the day she forgot to log out of her tablet. My chest tightened as I scrolled through her messages, not with another man, but with her mother. They weren't sharing secrets of affection. They were mocking me, laughing at my trust, plotting how to squeeze more business from my company. In their eyes, I wasn't a husband. I was a resource. An ATM disguised as a man. I sat there with the screen glowing in the dark, my anger cooling into something sharper than rage. That was the night I stopped being their fool. Revenge isn't loud. It isn't desperate. It's patient. I began my work in silence. My lawyers rewrote clauses quietly, so subtle they'd never notice. Investors were guided into different directions, discreetly reshaping alliances. I traced every luxury they flaunted, the jets, the champagne bills, the handbags, each expense bleeding their company dry. Their empire was already a rotting limb. All I had to do was cut the cord and watch gravity do its work. But patience wasn't enough. I wanted them to know whose hand had pulled the strings. That dinner was my stage. Their arrogance left them blind. Her father sat stiff, silent as furniture, while her mother spat venom and my wife echoed her laughter like a rehearsed chorus. They thought I was powerless. So I dropped the first stone. "I've decided to end all contracts with your firm. Effective immediately." The sound of laughter vanished. Her father's fork clattered onto his plate. Her mother's eyes narrowed, gears turning behind them. My wife froze mid-sip, her glass trembling. I leaned back as though I had just announced something ordinary. I don't fund parasites. And I certainly don't share a bed with them. The silence that followed was exquisite. Days later, their company began to crack. Without my contracts, liquidity evaporated overnight. Vendors withdrew, investors panicked, debt collectors circled like vultures over a dying carcass. Headlines plastered her mother's fall from grace, the glamorous queen of society reduced to accusations of fraud and financial ruin. My wife's calls came endlessly. Gone was the confidence, replaced with frantic sobbing. I didn't mean it. It was just a joke. "Please, you can fix this. You owe me." That last word sealed her fate. I owed her nothing. So I never picked up again. A month later, I invited them to a shareholders' meeting. They arrived hollowed out, clutching their pride like a lifeline. I stood at the head of the table, my lawyers surrounding me, numbers flashing on screens behind me. Losses, failures, graphs charting their collapse. "Ladies and gentlemen," I began, my voice steady. "This collapse was no accident. It was orchestrated by me." Her mother's lips parted in disbelief. My wife's eyes brimmed with tears. Her father looked like he wished the earth would open and swallow him whole. I leaned forward, locking eyes with them. You tried to disinfect me with wine. Consider this my answer. I disinfected you from my life. And then I walked out, leaving them in ruins. No shouting, no grand finale. Just the quiet devastation of numbers and silence. Truths that cut deeper than insults ever could. Do I regret it? Not for a second. What I felt wasn't triumph, but clarity. Betrayal is a toxin. The only cure is removal. I gave them exactly what they gave me. Humiliation. The difference was mine would last forever. Now whenever I lift a glass of wine, I remember that night. The sting on my face, their cruel laughter, and my smile in return. Because the sweetest revenge isn't served cold. It's served calm, precise and final.